good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I've come for sunrise. I'm in Auchmithie near Arbroath. So join me and let's see where this journey takes us. So I'm about 45 minutes before sunrise, and just look at that beautiful glint on the sea in front of me. Right, there's a whole series of stairs here. I've never been here before, so I'm going to concentrate and get my way down to the beach in the harbour. Alright, so it's going to be pretty hard for you to make this out because of the low light. But this is the old harbour area, and I know that the sun is going to rise here. Now there's still a bit of cloud, so I'm hoping we'll get some nice sunbursts through the horizon there. So what I'm doing is I'm just scouting about to look for a location that I can use for my first set of shots. I'm looking for something, whether it's rocks or the harbour wall. Harbour's pointing that direction, so it's probably not going to be that great. But I need to scout about and look for a nice composition where I can get a really nice sunrise here. There's an old ruined boat over here on the right hand side. Right, I'm going to do some scouting about, and once I've found a location I'll catch back soon. Right, so I'm about 40 minutes before sunrise, and what I'm going to do is I've got the PhotoPills app so I can see exactly where the sun's coming up. So I'll pop round behind this camera just to see if you can see it. And then what you can see is the direction of the sun. The sun is here, so it will be coming up and rising about this location. So that's how I use the PhotoPills app. But the composition that I've got here is that I've got this kind of rock shooting out towards the sea, and I'm using that as my leading line. I'm going to do a couple of horizon shots and vertical shots, but I'm getting a beautiful glint of what is starting to be the sun. I know it's blue hour at the moment, but we're getting a lot of glint of red and oranges on the sea, and it's really, really nice. So when these images work out, I'll share them with you. I've moved a wee bit closer. I'm right at the edge of the beach here. Now the tide is going out, so I've timed it so I've arrived at high tide, and I want to watch the water go out because I've never been to this location before. I only found out about this location because last week when Jim, Wally and I went to the secret Seascapes down in East Lothian, Jim had mentioned Auchmithie, and he had mentioned that the stones on the beach were really, really pretty. But I thought when I checked the forecast, there's going to be heavy rain later on this afternoon, and I thought I'll probably get a good chance of getting a wee bit of blue hour, a bit of sunrise. I thought it would be a lot clearer than it was, and I would also practice some slow shutter speeds with the waves receding as part of the low tide. But this is absolutely beautiful, even at this time of the morning. It's absolutely stunning. So if I put the camera around, you can see I'm right underneath the cliffs here in the beach. And there's meant to be a sea stack over there or a sea cave over there somewhere, but we might get to that later on. But right now I'm focusing here because I want to try and get a nice sunrise, and I want a foreground element. And I want to make sure I've got these rocks in the sea in the foreground. I don't want a plain sea with the sunrise coming up. There's a reason I put my wellies on. so I could get in the water. So what I've done is I've went lower, and I'm just making sure those rocks are just below the horizon line. But I've got a 3/4 composition. So if I share with you what I've got, I'm just going to up the exposure so you can see it clearer. So I've got the rocks just below the horizon line there, and then I've got all the water coming in. So what I'm trying to do is maximise the use of the water flowing out so I can get that smoothness. And it looks nice in the back of the camera. Like everything else, it won't be until I get back to the computer can I tell how well the shot has taken. Anyway, I'll keep taking shots at this level. I might go a wee bit lower, and because the tide's supposed to be going out, but no, it is going out. I can see the water line on the beach, but I'm just being careful, staying close to my camera so I don't get a wild wave. And these images I take here, I'll share them with you now. I've just moved a wee bit left, and what I've got from a compositional point of view is I've got this rock here on the left hand side pointing that way, and then I've got these rocks pointing that way, so I've got a leading line going towards the horizon line. That's the theory. So I'll keep taking these shots, and these shots I will share them with you now. Alright, so the sun's coming up now. What I'm trying to do is, I've put my camera right in the centre of these rocks, and I've increased, you know, see when, oh wow, see when you think the tide's going out, then all of a sudden you get these mega surges all the time. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be really quick and cope with the changing conditions. So here comes the sun, it's bursting through the horizon here between the two clouds. I'm being really conscious that I don't want to get the sun directly, but what I'm trying to do is balance it so that I've got rocks straight in front of me, and then what you'll see is I've got the glint of the sun on the middle of the rock, I've got the water sweeping round both sides, and I've got that diffusion of the sun in the horizon. It's absolutely stunning. So I'm just going to keep taking shots because that's the sun just peeking up now. It's just peeking up above the horizon. Oh wow. And I'm just trying to get starbursts if I possibly can without shooting right into the sun. Wow, it's pretty impressive. Oh, this is amazing. And I'm only going to get this probably for about 5-10 minutes because there's a cloud line above it on the horizon, and I know for sure I'm actually going to lose it at some point. Right, oh wow, that is so cracking. Oh, this is amazing. Oh wow, now we've got the full glint of the sun. Now I don't mind, because I'm shooting into the sun, I'm not going to get the sun in focus. But what I'm trying to do is I've shot my f-stop up to f20 because I want to get the kind of starburst effect. And I'm so glad I put my wellies on. I don't know what's going on, but the tide seems to be getting higher and higher here. But I'll tell you what, I will keep clipping away. And oh my goodness, these are absolutely beautiful. Oh, this is paid getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get here. Oh wow, this is exceptional. Right, I'll share these images with you now. Alright, so I have taken lots and lots of shots for this area in between different lights. There's a fishing boat just come up, so he's obviously coming to get his cat before the tide goes really low. I am absolutely elated. This has been well worth getting up really early. The sun's way above the cloud now. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to move around and try and get different compositions, because I'm looking for glints of light on the rock that's coming below the cloud line and also on the sea, but I don't have the harshness of the sun anymore. I have not taken any fast exposure shots. They've all been slow shutter speeds, which has ranged from about 1/4 of a second right up to 5 seconds, and I've had quite a long range, because like I said earlier, my whole purpose was to get long exposure shots of the sea coming into the rocks. Anyway, the images I've taken here, I'll share them with you now, and I'm going to go and look for a different composition. I've come higher up now because I noticed this old wee kind of boat wreck earlier. The only problem is, from a compositional point of view, I've got the boat in front of me, I've got that diagonal wall, and I've got the sun straight ahead, so compositionally it might not work, but I'll take a shot, and if it does work, I'll share that image with you. As I was walking around, I've spotted this composition. It's part of the old harbour wall, and what I've got is, I've got this big rock in front of me, I've got a slither of the old harbour wall pointing out, and then I've got an old, must be a kind of hook for a ship at the end here, but I'm keeping that below the horizon. I'm just checking I've got it below the horizon, only just. But what caught my eye was, I like the composition because I've got this vertical and I've got it on the left hand side, which gives me space here, and my balance is I've got, so I'm going to do a landscape shot. I've done the vertical shot, and when I've finished, I'll share these images with you. Well, this beach is no easy feat. Those stones and pebbles, I'll burn your thighs. Now, as I'm walking here, there's some wild swimmers just appeared, so they're obviously going in from a low tide point of view. But I've come over to this side of the beach, and guess what I've spotted? Over there is a sea arch, and then there's this big sea stack. Now I know from looking at the map there was an area called the Rock, so I'm assuming this sea stack is called the Rock. And then if you look just above it on the left hand side, there looks to be like a hole, so at some point, if you watched the video last week, that sea stack must have been a sea arch at one time and has collapsed. Right, I think I'm going to use this place for a composition. This is an amazing wee find. Right, I will show you my composition. So the composition I've got here is, you can actually see, because the camera's zoomed in a little bit, I've got the kind of what looks like the edge of the sea, the old sea arch on the left hand side, but I've got the rock sea stack in front of me. But what I wanted to try and do was position it so that I could get below and through that rock so that we could see that sea arch. So if I zoom in, and let's just get that exposure right, then what you can see is we've got some nice waves licking up there, but I've got the curvature of that rock and you can actually see right through to the sea arch. Now what I might do is I might change lenses as well, and I might put the 70-200 on to see how far I can get through, because it might be quite nice to catch some of those waves that are licking up as well. So I'm going to take my time here, and I'm going to take 2 or 3 different compositions. I'll try a vertical and see if a vertical works, because I like the foreground. And if I put the 70-200 on, I'll get a zoomed in effect to that sea arch. And when I've finished, I'll share these images with you. Alright, so let's keep walking then. I'm just going to get closer to the sea stack. I'm just watching my feet here because I've got my wellies on, it's quite slippy. So if I try and head over in that direction there, and then let's see what we can find over here. Well, as I've been walking along the beach, I spotted this composition. So I've got this rock in front of me that's got a really cool shape. I've got the rock sea stack, and then up on the left hand side I've got the remnants of the old sea arch. But what really caught my eye was it's quite a nice composition. So that rock's in the centre between these two objects, but there's quite a wee kind of sea mist in the background, and I was kind of hoping I could pick that up. I'm shooting at a 60th of a second, f8 and ISO 100. I've got a polarizer filter on. I've still got my ND3 grad filter on as well, because I want to get the clouds in the sky, and I don't want to underexpose too much without having the filter on. I'll take these shots and I'll share these with you. Right, I'm behind the rock sea stack. There's a wee one over there. There's also a big bit of driftwood there. The challenge with me being here is the sun is right in my face behind that rock. But look at that beautiful coastline. This is all part of the Arbroath Walk. It's absolutely beautiful, and oh boy, I couldn't have asked for another better morning. So that's been 2 weeks in a row we've had no rain. It's fantastic. Right, I'm going to walk over there and see if there's anything of interest. I have stopped, so I am going to try and get a composition here, because what I do like is the contrast between the shadow and the light on the end of this log. But I've also got that kind of soft watery sheen mist effect here on that sea arch as well. And then we've got all these waves hitting the rocks. So I've got a wee dilemma here. Do I do a fast shutter speed and freeze the waves, or do a longer exposure? Tell you what, why don't I do both? If I do a fast shutter speed and a long exposure shot, you can drop in the comments and let me know what you think's the best. Right, I'm going to experiment with some long exposures for now, because I've got a ND6 filter on, just so that I can slow my shutter speed, especially in the bright sun. But if I look at this composition, I've got these rocks. There's that wee straggler on the left hand side, but I'm going to move the camera around and I'll get rid of that, or I can take it out in post because that's distracting. But I've got all these rocks. I've got a V leading line, so I've got the cliffs and I've got the harbour wall, and then I've got these jagged rocks here. I will probably have a 6-second exposure at f16 ISO 100, and I'll experiment up and down, because in some of the, if it's really underexposed, I'll need to speed it up a wee bit. And then if I shoot this way, I'm going to probably be killed with highlights, but we'll give it a go because there's some really nice green seaweed and that looks like strong algae on some of those rocks. It might be really nice with that long exposure effect. So whatever long exposure shots I take here, I'll share them with you now. Alright, so I've kind of walked over the other side of the sea arch, because what I was doing was I was experimenting with slowish shutter speeds, trying to capture the waves. I didn't want to freeze the waves, I wanted to get a kind of splatter effect. So what I'll do is I'll share the ones that I liked and I'll share them with you now. I've made it around to the other side of this, the big sea stack. So I've got it kind of 3/4 of my frame, and I'm going to shoot, I've left a gap so you can see down the beach. I'm just going to take 2 or 3 different type shots here. Do a wide shot, I'll do a close-up shot, I'll do a vertical shot. And then what I'll also try and do is, I'll try and find a location where I could potentially incorporate the small sea stack and maybe get the small sea stack and the large sea stack in the same image. If I can get that done, here's the images. Alright, I think I'm going to finish the video here. There's a danger of having too much of a good thing, because I want to come back, in different weather conditions. And I also want to come back. This morning I was focusing on long exposure and experimenting with different settings. So when I take that back, I'll get my learning, I'll understand what settings or shutter speed settings I like for some of the wave or the sea action. I know long exposure when you come to seascapes isn't everyone's cup of tea, but you've got to experiment. One thing I did do when I was taking photographs of the 2 sea stacks here, I turned round and I got a shot of the sea arch. So what I'll do is I'll share those images that I took of the sea arch with you now. So I'm definitely going to end the video. Auchmithie, where I am, is a famous location here in Arbroath. Not for what you might think, more for the Arbroath smoky. So the Arbroath smoky was actually discovered here in Auchmithie, and then it was adopted in Arbroath. However, EU regulations have made it law that the name Arbroath Smoky can only be used if the smokies are made within an 8-kilometre radius of the town centre in Arbroath. So there you go, if you get an Arbroath Smoky and it is from Scotland, you know it's authentic in that case. So I'm going to end the video. Here's hoping you like it. I hope you like the images. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks again for watching, and here's to the next video.